Welcome back to another week of crypto market recap number 18. And you know how it goes. Always new things in the crypto space. It's never ever boring.
Never a dull moment.
Never. But yeah, let's just get right into it. I'm happy to see Binance, finally allowing deposits and withdrawals on Arbitrum One. Mainly for the US family, the US Binance at least. So like it's really good to see because opens up you know opens up the opportunity for some of these new users only on like centralized exchanges like Binance to then be able to withdraw into a chain that they're not worried about high gas fees, even though Ethereum is pretty low right now, but at least be able to use like a chain where like there's new development going on every day, and like even the potential of an airdrop is there too. So like yeah, it definitely opens it up for a lot of newcomers.
Yeah, totally agree, man. I mean, even thinking from a simple use case like stablecoins, right?
Yeah.
Let's say if I want some dollar exposure, and I mean, I'm living in a first world country by literally every metric, but so
Mm.
imagine this is probably this worse if you're living in like a third world country. But if you want
Right.
dollar exposure, like the most easy way nowadays for most people, I would guess, is through crypto, right? Like USDC or something.
Right.
But then if you're buying, let's say, $1,000 of USDC, or let's say even less, right? Let's say it's $100 USDC, and then on Binance, I mean the fees are not that high, so that's great. So let's imaginary say that's zero. Um, and then you have to withdraw. There's already a withdrawal fee there on the Binance side.
Right.
Then you're paying the withdrawal fee for the network. If it's Ethereum, that's probably quite high as well. So then that $100, if you then have to bridge later to Arbitrum, like from Ethereum, your $100 could now be worth, I don't know, maybe like I would guess somewhere in the maybe 50 to $80 worth range, depending on how high the
Yeah.
gas fees are. Um, so yeah, obviously, if you can just offboard to Arbitrum, that's way better because then you actually get to keep your most of your money while still having the security that Ethereum offers.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. And it's not even just Arbitrum; it's also Optimism. So you have even more options there. So like you can play around with everything going on in Optimism, and also even play around with anything going on in Arbitrum. So it's like you have options, and like you don't really have to worry about bridging to Ethereum and then playing around with anything going on there. You can start testing out new things that are coming out within these two layer twos. So it's like it's really good to see something like this, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, agree.
And another thing that Fidelity investments allowing, offering the ability for the institutions to be able to invest into Ethereum. It's really, really good to see. I mean, I remember like 2 years ago, people were like really happy to see like, companies having Bitcoin in their balance sheets or whatever. Like even just institutions slowly, getting to a point where they're dabbling into buying Bitcoin, whether it was through Grayscale with GBTC or any other way. So like seeing something like this, and then it's actually Ethereum. It's really cool to see because like people are slowly starting to realize that like crypto isn't just Bitcoin. There's more to it to that. So
Yeah.
like yeah, that's really great to see. Hopefully like some of these institutions can start dabbling into like DeFi, some things on chain rather than just holding the token. Maybe even the opportunity. Maybe Fidelity could offer the ability for institutions to invest into not just Ethereum as is, but maybe like a derivative where like it's like staked Ethereum. That would be pretty cool
Mhm.
to see.
Yeah.
Really, really cool to see.
Yeah, funny that you mentioned DeFi. I don't know if we talked about this or not, but I think it was somewhere last week where I saw. someone shared a post that one hedge fund, or not a hedge fund, like a pension fund actually
Hmm.
was going to yield farm on Ethereum, and I thought, oh boy, this would be
No.
a signal that we're so far still from the bottom. You know, like if if a pension fund is thinking about yield farming in DeFi, that's not a good sign at all, to be honest.
I
I
mean,
mean,
like, what yield are you gonna like? What real yield are you really gonna go after? I mean, besides like, you could literally argue like, yeah, you can just go ahead and start buying up a bunch of Ethereum and setting up a bunch of validators through Rocket Pool, and there you go. You kind of yield farming, you can call it, but like, other than that, what are you really
yeah,
doing?
that I wouldn't call yield farming. So, yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
maybe they're not calling it correctly, but yeah, it was funny because I would also agree. Like getting into some DeFi might be good for some institutions, but I think probably a pension fund traditionally, I would say that's one of the funds that has to be most conservative, and
right.
like yield farming doesn't exactly scream like conservative to me. So I
No,
would
agreed.
maybe not trust my money with them. But yeah,
Yeah.
still good to see Fidelity adopting like ETH, or like offering ETH to institutions. I
No,
wonder if
agreed.
it's because of the maybe more perceived like ESG rating now that ETH is
Yeah,
proof of stake.
right. No, that's true too. Like, it was a lot of people were waiting on this, massive upgrade. I mean, I can see why. Even as it is now, it's not even over. There's still so many iterations, right? So like, I can see why they are, trying to like push for this because it's like, yeah, you're right. Maybe it is just the rating. Maybe it's the also the utility has gone up probably. Even like definitely the it's not as inflationary as it was
Yeah,
before.
yeah,
So like that's definitely
exactly. I mean,
you know
let's pull up the ultrasound dot money website once more because I think, let's see if I'm pulling it up right now. Ultrasound. Yeah, honestly, it's crazy how much it's a difference with proof of work, man. Like if you go to, let's see, I'll send it.
let me see.
Yeah, so
Hmm.
now it's, I would say, like we're even entering like the territory again of the moment of the total supply around the time that ETH moved to proof of stake. But if you
Hmm.
click that simulate proof of work switch, I mean, it's
Jeez.
just insane, right? Like right now, there's not even 2,000 new ETH minted, and if we were still on a proof of stake, then it would have been what, like more than 400,000 new ETH. So yeah,
Jeez.
that's
No, this
quite
is
a shocking difference, I would say.
no. Seriously, dude. That's insane. And the thing is, like, as more people use Ethereum, the more is burned. So then the more it actually becomes inflationary.
Yeah,
So like, it is pretty cool to see something like
yeah.
this,
I mean,
progress.
I mean, imagine now, and I saw this being tweeted like a few times maybe over the past week, but it's pretty crazy to think with like how the market feels right now. Like I feel like sentiment is just pretty low, and it's, or not even low like in a everyone's scared kind of way, but just
Hmm.
it feels like a desert out here. You know, like there's not that much happening. I feel
Agreed.
um, like there are obviously some things happening that are interesting, but just the general people who are in crypto, like I feel like there are definitely a lot of people who have left. But if we're already burning ETH now, imagine
Yeah.
how crazy things can get once we're in a bull market again.
No, agreed. Like, The 10,000 per Ethereum is not a meme now.
Yeah,
Definitely
no,
not a
not
meme.
at all. I mean, for sure, if we would have had these tokenomics, like let's say beginning of 2021, for sure
Oh
we would
yeah,
have reached 10,000. There's no doubt.
agreed. No, agreed. It's really interesting. I can't wait to see where it's at by the next bull run. Honestly, it's like even at the point where it's at right now, like it's still at almost 1,400. That was last bull run's peak. You
Yeah,
see what I'm saying? So
yeah,
it's
it's
like,
interesting. Yeah, we're
yeah,
like right around the both for ETH and Bitcoin, we're right around
exactly.
the last
Yeah,
stop, kind of.
yeah. And like the fact that it's already at this point, right? Imagine like in the next couple years or whatever until the next bull run, right? Like the amount that could be burned by then. Like it could be interesting. I mean, I could see it regaining 2,000. Like who knows? Maybe not this year, but like it's definitely gonna happen in the near future. And then like it, if the demand continues to stack and continues to compound, and like the whole ecosystem as as a whole continues to grow, I don't doubt it at all that we can see ETH by 10,000 very very soon. I mean, the thing is like you're right. If the tokenomics like this was already in place in 2021, yeah, we would have already seen it. If not, we would have seen crazy price action because it's
Yeah,
like I don't know. I don't think people really like can see how this is gonna really shift things drastically. I mean, we've already seen it. Already looking at it. Like you could see it right here. Like we would already be at a certain amount. Like printed already, we would have already seen another 400 and almost 70,000 ETH in
yeah,
You see what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, that's very interesting. So that's 400 and almost 70,000 ETH less that is being sold as sell
yeah,
pressure. Essentially, you can think about it.
yeah. And I think what's also interesting to quickly go back to sort of the topic of ESG and especially in relation to Bitcoin. I feel like most of the narratives for Bitcoin are collapsing, and I know like that's been said
Yeah.
this year 1,000 times. Like it is kind of like a broken record, but it's not like inflation resistant. That's very obvious. Um, Obviously, still there are the ESG concerns, even though I don't agree with that. But
Hmm.
that is still a concern for some people. So that narrative is there, whether you like it or not, or whether you think it's correct or not. But
Hmm.
then, if you click on the simulate proof of work button again, I mean, even just from a fundamental perspective, ETH now has better tokenomics than Bitcoin. So
Yeah.
it's a
No,
bit like
100%.
what, and Bitcoin has no utility. ETH obviously has utility, so it's becoming more and more like what is kind of the thesis for holding Bitcoin over Ethereum? And
Yeah.
I think there's less and less every day.
Yeah. The biggest one was, of course, the inflation hedge, but as you can really see,
Yeah,
that hasn't really held up well. And then compared to Ethereum, like I mean, Ethereum looks like a better hedge, especially after the upgrade. Now the tokenomics is way better. So like, I agree with you. Like it's like, what arguments is there to even hold Bitcoin at all? Like even at the current market cap, what do you think? Like, it's gonna what go to what? Like what did it hit? 70,000?
yeah,
What
almost. Yeah, yeah,
like?
69.
And when it was that's funny. And when
Yeah,
and when it was at 69,000, I forgot the market cap.
yeah, like
Yeah.
a bit above 1 trillion, I
So
think.
like, right. So like, what you like if you see the price double, that's already like what 2 trillion
Yeah,
something. Like,
yeah,
come on now, really? Like you really
yeah.
think another trillion is gonna flow into Bitcoin? Like
Yeah,
this
I mean,
really?
obviously that's not how the liquidity has to be, right? Like, because the market cap was that, but obviously not all Bitcoin is liquid, so
Right.
not
Right.
not another trillion has to flow into Bitcoin to push the price twice as high. But I definitely agree with the general sentiment that there's way more room to grow for Ethereum compared
Exactly.
to Bitcoin.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah, that's very obvious. So yeah, I think sort of the only um, the only case that people can really make is the decentralization argument. But then again,
Can't really argue that.
it's not like Ethereum is super centralized, right? I know people have argued that, but I think that kind of leads like a nice segue into
Oh yeah.
another thing we're going to discuss. Um, that it's you might say you could argue, I guess, that it's a bit more centralized in some ways than Bitcoin, but it's not like it's not censorship resistant anymore.
Mhm.
That's
No, seriously.
that's what matters at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, agreed. And the thing is, like with Bitcoin, like it's how do I excuse me? How do I say this? It's like Bitcoin is still subsidizing miners,
Yeah,
right? So like the real in reality, the what Bitcoin will really be is after the rewards run out. Then
yeah,
at that point, it's like, yeah, you could argue why you would hold Bitcoin because like the fees and all these different things, all these different components. But at that point, it's like it's a gamble. You're really gonna take a gamble, theorizing whether or not it would actually continue to grow in value after there's no more rewards. It's kind of hard to really think that if there's no utility at all for the token. If there was
yeah.
like
I mean,
something, a minimal.
yeah. I think there's a few ways to look at this. On the one hand, you could argue like most likely we will not see that time
Yeah.
when the rewards are like completely dried up, because that's in what, like another 150 years more or less, or not 150, 120 I should say, but still, like,
Yeah.
I doubt that I'll be alive by then, to be honest. But the other, I think, more important and more realistic point is that the rewards do not diminish linearly, but exponentially. So I've
Mm.
read some reports that say that basically, or to quickly go back to the previous point, to make it clear for everyone, it's like the idea is that then by then you don't need block rewards anymore, because um, transaction fees would support the miners, right? That's the thesis.
Exactly.
But again, like the block rewards do not diminish linearly, but exponentially. And I've read some articles that would suggest that the block rewards might already not really be enough anymore to support miners as soon as around like 2028, 2030, maybe. Um,
Jeez.
because again, they decrease like exponentially. So there will still be very long tail of some block rewards. But I mean, that's I guess one of the things you learn first in crypto is like the halving, right? That talks
Yeah.
about the Bitcoin block reward halving, and that's why Bitcoin has, or one of the ideas why Bitcoin has gone up like pretty much 10 years straight.
Yeah.
Um, but so yeah, you can see if there's a halving of the block reward, then it gets to like asymptomatically, it gets to zero pretty quickly, or not completely zero, but like near zero pretty quickly. So if basically the block reward is not enough to support miners anymore, then what will happen is just um, like more and more miners will stop mining until there are not so many miners anymore that it will become profitable again. But then
Yeah.
you're basically in the same spot, because then there's less decentralization, simply
Yeah.
because there's less miners. So yeah, it's sort of an interesting debate, but I think from a fundamental perspective, there's it gets sort of harder and harder to justify buying Bitcoin over Ethereum if we're specifically comparing the two, And also, if it's from maybe a different perspective, um, then I would still think for what Bitcoin tries to do, or what Bitcoin maybe has tried to be in, like, up until now, I would say Monero is pretty much in every aspect still better, right? Like, I
Yep.
think we've gone over that already, like, countless of times. But yeah, again, it solved the block reward thing, because they do have a sort of mechanism where the block reward does decrease over time, but at a certain point, it will not decrease any longer, and it will just be one specific set block reward. So
Mm,
I don't know how much that exactly is, but there's like basically a base minimum that will always be the block reward. So yeah, there will always be some inflation to keep the network going. But if
right.
like no one is willing to mine because there's no block reward anymore, or that would lead to centralization, then it might be it could be an interesting discussion to say, like, yeah, maybe it is worth it to have some inflation if that's what it takes to keep the network decentralized, right? And I think that's what Monero has done, and obviously it has privacy, um, which Bitcoin doesn't have. That's obviously the biggest selling point. So yeah, I think Bitcoin maxis are sort of running out of arguments of what should be the main reason to buy Bitcoin.
No, I agree. I mean, that's why like you were seeing people talking about Web 5.0. Like it was just ridiculous. Like, okay, like yeah, you could figure out how to get, smart contracts on Bitcoin, but then what? It's like you still need the developers to come and start building
Yeah,
things that are actually gonna bring value. Like it's a lot more than just one implementation. There's gonna be various that would need to get Bitcoin to a certain level where it would once again be worth, allocating funds into long
yeah,
term at least.
yeah.
So like yeah, I agree with you.
I think the main sort of real driver that you could consider for Bitcoin is just if we're thinking on a bigger scale, right? Not necessarily just as two guys who do a bit of uh, crypto on the side, but more like institutions. Then the reason to buy Bitcoin over Ethereum could be just because the liquidity is better. Because if you're buying a large amount, obviously the impact um, on Ethereum will be bigger than
Right.
on Bitcoin. So that could be the play. And I guess Bitcoin is more lending than Ethereum, just because it's been around for longer. But that's basically the only thing that I can really think of.
No, yeah, it's a lot of things. I mean, that's why people were arguing like, oh yeah, Bitcoin is like people were first arguing like, yeah, this will replace fiat currency, and then people were
Yeah.
arguing, no, this will replace gold. I mean,
Yep.
there's
Yeah.
gonna be countless narratives. I mean, who knows honestly what this can turn out to be like. I mean, what like imagine the world just takes a complete random turn and just they just use instead of using one fiat currency as a reserve currency, it's like a basket of all of them,
Oh
and
yeah.
then and
I
then
could
and then
very well.
yeah, 100%. And then what's backing all like this basket of currencies could be like something like Bitcoin or like whatever, essentially. And maybe that could do something along the lines where like it wouldn't matter if there was like inflation because the fees will be large enough where it really wouldn't matter. But like that's like I said, it's still a gamble. It's still like yeah, I gotta hope that all these things come into place to then hopefully double, triple quadruple my money. When in
Yeah.
reality, you can just go towards like, allocating towards something as simple, like just, if you want to go simple and conservative, Ethereum. It could definitely
Yeah.
do, you know, maybe not obviously a 10x, but maybe like, a 9x, maybe get to 10,000, right?
Yeah.
But like, yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
there's just ways to think about it. Yeah.
I think that is pretty interesting. I think we talked about this before. Kind of if you view it as an attention economy, right? Then
Hmm.
it is kind of like yeah, 10 years ago it was easy in a sense to get rich of Bitcoin or one
Yeah.
of the other coins because there was so little
Yeah.
that it was kind of easy to pick a winner because there were like if there's only 5 coins, like it is pretty easy to pick a
Yeah.
winner, right? And you have even if it was just done randomly, you have a 20% chance that you're picking the best performing coin, let's
Agreed.
say. Um, but nowadays, I think if you're if you're somewhat sophisticated in doing your research, like not even super sophisticated, right? But you know you're probably not gonna be rich from, let's say, $1,000 investment in Bitcoin
Exactly.
anymore. Like it
Yeah.
is very unlikely um, that Bitcoin would, let's say, do another 1,000x from here, at least within any sort of realistic foreseeable future. Um,
Yeah.
in real terms, like if we're getting hyperinflation, then yeah, maybe. But I'm
But then
being
you
more.
would argue everything. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So there's there's still things that are gonna do 1,000x, even things that haven't even been created yet. But
Yeah.
it's so much harder because there's first of all there's so much more things to choose from,
Yeah.
and there's also so many more people basically competing to find these 1,000x's, and it's just simply a
Exactly.
matter of being first, right? Like if you're buying first, then you get it at a better price,
Yeah.
um, or usually, right? Like it's a bit simplifying the process, but that's usually what happens.
No,
Um,
agree.
so
Agree.
it is still possible. It's just the difficulty got turned up to like expert mode, basically.
Yeah, no, it really has. I mean, the thing is, it's like, and it's not enough to just release like a governance token, you know? Like, even a utility token, like, yeah, you can slap on the label utility token, but like, what real utility is there? Right? And it has to have like utility in the level where it's like, it's useful for everybody, not just for like, a small select few,
Yeah,
right? Because then, like, because if it is, and like it's, you have, it checks all the boxes, utility, all these different things, like it's actually like something real, not just like another dex or another NFT marketplace, right?
yeah,
Then you could possibly have the chance of making like 1,000x if it goes well. But even at that point, you need to make sure that the team is competent enough, and then
yeah.
like
And
even the community growing, it needs to grow at a rate where it's like enough where like it goes mainstream.
it
It's
is
so many
all these
factors.
different things, and then
Yeah,
it's also you not selling at like
exactly.
you not selling at a 5x, you not selling at a 10x, not at a 20x, not a
Yep.
50x, not a 100x, not even a 500x, but 1,000x. Like who in their
Yeah.
right mind would not sell at a 500x?
No, like the thing is, like you would need to really see, like, wow, I can make more than a 500x if I just keep holding on to this, not because of the price appreciation, but because of the utility that I have with holding this token. That's the
Yeah,
only thing I see, the only thing, and that's what's crazy, because like, I mean, like that rules out 99% of the tokens, maybe 99.9, and that's what's scary, because already, what is that? If 20,000 tokens ruling out 99, that leaves 200. And if you rule out 99.9, that only leaves 20. 20 projects that you have to like really do research on to see which one has a higher potential than the other, and which one has the better tokenomics, then which one has a like the better utility in regards to like value accrual with like network effects and all these other things. It's so much. It's so much. It's not about like TA and FA and PA anymore. It's so much like that you gotta like put into it, you know. And
Yeah,
it's and not a lot of people will do the work. Not a lot of people will go out their way to like really figure out which is, you know, the best to put your money into, because it's, you know, like we said, it's way more difficult now, and it's going to continue becoming more and more difficult, you know, as time progresses. But something like this, like a bear market, or like not even just a crypto bear market, but like all markets type of bear market, like like a complete like, you know, downturn where like it just flushes out all the bullshit. That's good, because now people
yeah,
can focus on the real things and actually start creating brand new innovating ideas. So then like it goes from 20 to possibly 40, possibly.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's uh, it's interesting to see what will happen in like 5 years time. I know we say this basically
Yeah.
every time, but um,
Facts.
yeah, it's
But it's true though, you
yeah,
know.
because
It's
I
very
feel
true.
like every year there are obviously like 99.999% Ponzi's, but that, to be honest, like there's also useful things that are built, right? Like
Yeah.
I mean, like something like a Uniswap DEX, obviously super useful. Something
Mm,
like Aave, also is super useful. Then
agreed.
things like layer twos, also useful, especially that was like super noticeable when last year when the Ethereum fees were so crazy. It was
Yeah.
super noticeable that layer twos would have like a big impact, especially on for onboarding people, you know.
Yeah.
Then NFTs, yeah, sure, most are pretty dumb and a lot of scams, but there is at least a real possibility of
Yeah.
having real utility in the future, right? Like, to be fair, I haven't seen a whole lot of things where I thought, whoa, this is super revolutionary and there's no way this could have been done before
Mm,
the invention of NFTs, but I'm sure that it will make some things more
yeah.
streamlined in the future and even bring about new things that yeah could not have been done before this.
No, I agree. I agree. And the thing is, even like everything that you just mentioned, like, yeah, Aave is great, Uniswap is great, but then like if you want to like, you know, invest into their token, like it's like then you have to go even deeper and try to figure out whether or not their tokenomics actually makes sense enough where
Yeah,
like you see like the value continuously accruing over time, and then the value of the token going up over time. Like
yeah,
it's a really hard game to play, because it's like, yeah, Uniswap may have a large majority market share, and then, you know, a competitor can come out with a way better DEX and a way better tokenomics. But because of the large market share already, it's gonna be really hard to take that away from Uniswap, right? Because then you would have to like really, you know, push, you know, in the marketing side at least to get people aware that it is better than
yeah,
Uniswap.
yeah,
And then what's not stopping Uniswap from just making a bit of changes just to make their decks better immediately, you know? Maybe not their tokenomics, maybe, but that's what I'm saying. It's like it's hard, because what's already in the game, you either have to do better than them or completely do something brand new that nobody has done before.
yeah. I don't know if you could improve like a whole lot on Uniswap, to be honest. Like I've seen some people talk about like a constant volatility market maker instead of like a constant price. But
Mm.
yeah, to be honest, that's a bit above my pay grade
Same.
to really comment on. But yeah, I feel like I feel like the biggest chance um, if there's a significant improvement on the current Uniswap model, I feel like it most likely will come from uh, Uniswap themselves.
Yeah, No,
because
yeah, the thing
they're
is,
so well funded, you know.
yeah, exactly, exactly, and that's the thing, because like it's like then at that point, then it's like, yeah, you're holding this uni token, gives you governance right, but in reality, do you really have governance rights? At the end of the day, you're dependent off this team to make sure to keep innovating. So then, like the project becomes more useful, and then maybe people decide to buy the token. But at the end of the day, it's the token is not needed.
Yeah,
And like you could argue the same thing for pre you know, Ethereum merge essentially. Like, yeah, you can mine this token, and yeah, you can use it to pay gas fees. But then what, right? So it's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah, and the thing is like, at that point, yeah, it's just money for like the miners to like. It's just a token for the miners to sell essentially. And then the ones that are
yeah,
buying it are just using it to pay for gas fees to use the applications on the ecosystem. That's essentially what it was. And then when Ethereum merge happened, then it's like, okay, they restructured the tokenomics. They made the token utility a lot higher, a lot more utility in that regard. So it's like, yeah, now it makes sense to hold the token. And that took years to implement. So it's like,
yeah. I mean,
it's hard all around, to be honest.
yeah, because they have been at it, what, like 2015.
Dude, it was $80 in 2020. eighty
Yeah,
dollars.
I know. Yeah, I bought some domain names, and I should have just put all that money into
That's it.
Ethereum, honestly. Yeah,
That's literally it. And that's what's brings us to this next point. Well, let's just finish off this point about let's just clear things out. Where like if you're running a validator, right? Let's just say Coinbase, right? They start censoring transactions, right? You know, who's to say that like like the transactions isn't going to be processed by another validator? If you know for a higher bid, what's to say that then that transaction, it doesn't matter if it was like censored, it still went through, because of another validator. And that's essentially what this tweet is saying, essentially, with like validators using MEV-boost. They're always going to be like essentially like outbidding like other transactions, maybe even like those transactions that are starting to censor. But like it's really hard to say honestly. But like this is actually good to at least be aware of, because like there's more things to be in place. I know we were talking about it before the live stream, but if those things do come into place, then like the censorship problem, where like if right now there's 51, 52%, like three validators, what, Kraken, Coinbase, and one other one that controls majority stake right now. It's like that sounds scary, but like no one, at least that like anybody running a validator with MEV boost, they'll possibly still be able to process those transactions that were censored by the other validators like Coinbase and so on. So at least that's interesting.
yeah. But you want to end it right here then?
Yeah, yeah, no, I was yeah,
Yeah,
we can go on. I mean, we could save
yeah,
this for next week, but
yeah,
yeah, let's end it right here then.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right, see you guys next week. Subscribe, like, do all those things. There's more to come. Just wait on it.
The word